In the name of the cosmos. Hi Rahu, one moment, Ketu's calling. In the name of the cosmos. Hi Ketu, Rahu's holding. Can I call you back? I'll let him know. Rahu and Ketu changed signs on September 23rd, awakening the axis of Taurus and Scorpio, the place of our pleasure, the place of our materialism, the place where we seek our comfort and where we seek joy, the place of our undiscovered talents, the place of our secrets, the place where we hide and where we cling to other people, the place where we discover secrets that are around us, and the place that we transform. Welcome to In the Name of the Cosmos. My name is Siri Prakash. I'm a Vedic astrologer, and in today's video we're going to take a look at this powerful transit of Rahu and Ketu into the sign of Taurus and Scorpio, and then we're going to take a look at the end of the video, sign by sign, to see what classrooms of life are awakening for each and every one of us. Now let's take a look at the surrounding energies to Rahu and Ketu's ingress into the sign of Scorpio and Taurus. So just the day before, we had Mercury, the planet of our ability to have commercial flow, our ability to communicate, our discriminating mind, our ability to have economic transactions. It moved into the sign of Libra, where it will stay until November 27th. And this is due to the fact that he'll have a retrograde, his last one of 2020, in the sign of Libra. And upon entering there, even though it's a friend sign, right? So Mercury and Venus are very good friends. He came under affliction of Saturn and Mars, and he will be under affliction throughout his stay by the end of November. And then we have Saturn, who's currently transiting retrograde in the sign of Capricorn. It's starting to station where it's amplifying its energies, amplifying its tension before it moves direct on September 29th. So these are key planetary transits for us to consider while we're discussing Rahu and Ketu. Now, Rahu and Ketu is this place within us where we have to seek new experiences through Rahu. This is the place that takes us into our destiny zone, the place that really leads us into our experiences on Earth. And then we have Ketu, which is our security paradigm, the place that we are really fixed, the place where we are really rigid, where we're really uptight, where we have a lot of skill, we have a lot of attachment, and we don't necessarily want to let go of it. The key of it is that we want to link these two back together because it's the head and tail of a dragon. So it's this Kundalini channel, in fact, for us. So it's this place of awakening for us. Once we link the two back together, we shouldn't favor one over the other, because the past is not necessarily bad. It's a part of who we are. We don't have to erase it and forget it. And the future shouldn't be so fearful. So the key really is to bring us into a place of where we're leaning on the skills that we've developed with Rahu, of Ketu, bringing it with where we need to go with Rahu. This is a key. A second key is that you want to give Rahu a goal. So no matter where he's sitting in your chart, his transit into the sign of Taurus needs to have a goal. Because he's so powerful here, and because his desire nature is so ignited, if we don't give him a goal, then what happens is that Ketu acts just for the sake of action, but it doesn't lead us anywhere. Additionally, we want to be mindful that while Rahu is in this sign owned by Venus, where their two energies again are very similar, we can be pushed into agreeing to things that actually aren't leading us to real stability, into real growth. It's a false promise, because Rahu into the sign of Venus, this Taurus house, is actually going to put us into a state of real attention about finding our stability once again. And here we may compromise in order to find that stability once again, because our overriding thought was we just want to be stable, we just want to be normal again, we just want to be comfortable again. And so we're willing to do whatever it takes to get there. And whatever it takes is not actually always a good thing. It's kind of like if we've worked all day and we have forgotten to eat, And we come home and then suddenly we're like, I've got to eat something, I've got to eat something. And then we run into the kitchen and we just push whatever is in front of us into our mouth to eat it just so we fill this void to help bring us back into feeling stable and normal again. Only to realize after we've done it is that actually we don't feel satisfied and actually we don't feel good and that we actually should have prepared and actually thought about it. This is the same thing with Rahu going into the sign of Taurus, is that he's a bit out of control with his desire to really find our stability and to find our comfort where it can override our discriminating mind in that what is really good for us. So this is something very important to watch out for. You need to give it a goal and you need to maintain the integrity of a focused, clear mind and not indulge in things that actually give you a sense of escapism or a sense of that this is making me feel satisfied, so I'll just take it. You need to really be on high alert with this. If you give Rahu a goal here, actually, through his exaltation, you can direct him in a very meaningful way. Because overall, the transit of Rahu and Ketu will bring us back into a state of stability. It's just its first few months of the transit that are really critical with how we interact with it on a personal level and on a global level. This is key. Now with Rahu into the sign of Taurus in this very first part through the end of January, it will be transiting through what's known as Mrigashira Nakshatra. Now Mrigashira Nakshatra is simply a lunar house. So Taurus is the solar house and Mrigashira is the lunar house. And in the Vedic system, we blend these two energies together. And while it's transiting through Mrigashira through the end of January, it's really going to reveal our vulnerabilities through our economic cycle that we're currently in. It's really going to bring out kind of the bolts and bones of where we really are. And then we have Jupiter, who's currently in Sagittarius. In November, he will move into the sign of Capricorn, joining Saturn in the place where he's debilitated, and Saturn is very strong. So here through the end of November and the end of January is kind of really the toughest time through this economic cycle, because once Rahu moves into Rohini Nakshatra, the lunar house Rohini, there he starts to really look for the solutions. He's actually now discovering it. And then we have Jupiter in April moving into Aquarius. So really by springtime, we'll start to see this power of Rahu and Ketu bringing us in our material stability once again, right? So we just have this challenge with Saturn, Jupiter, right, and Mercury in its very early stages, impacting Rahu's ability here to really unfold his power of finding our satisfaction, finding our pleasure once again, but it will come. Now, Ketu, on the other hand, is the more challenging of the two. And in fact, Ketu is the more mysterious of the two, even though they're both very shadowy planets. Rahu announces himself. He really lets you know what he's doing. He lets you know what he is wanting to go after. Ketu hides. So Ketu is very secretive. So Ketu doesn't reveal. He's more powerful, in fact. He's the most powerful planet in your chart, whether it's in transit or whether it's in your birth chart. So do check out where he's sitting for you, because it reveals a lot. Ketu in the sign of Scorpio is not as happy as Rahu in the sign of Taurus. Now Mars and Ketu have very similar energies. They're very powerful, they're very dedicated, right? So they go in with a very clear idea of what it wants to hunt out. They're both like digesters. Mars is a very hungry planet, and Ketu is without a head, but he's really pulling down, he's digging down, and Mars does the same thing. So they come in with a lot of strength, a lot of power. But in this sign of Scorpio is actually where we can find where we are clinging too much, especially in relationships. It ignites this emotional clinging. And when we look into the zone of Scorpio, Scorpio, it's very powerful in that it reveals our hidden talents. So the 8th house of this sign, so Scorpio being the natural 8th house, right? It's this place, and Scorpio being this place of transformation, it really brings in and discovers our hidden talents, right? Our hidden gifts. So when we link our hidden gifts into what our desire nature is of where we want to go, and we give it a goal, we succeed, right? This is really key. We succeed when we link our skill set with our desired goal, when we discover what it is. Because part of this illusion is with Ketu going through Scorpio, and why it's also painful is that Ketu is really the ultimate liberator. It doesn't care how you feel about things. It wants to get to the higher truth of you. And this is where our pain is, because we have attachments to things. As soon as we come into this earthly form, we get attached to things, right? So Ketu doesn't care about that. It just goes through and just plows things out, right? So here, if you can satisfy your desire nature through reaching your highest truth, connecting with your gifts without caring what the outside world thinks about you, judges you, what your opinions are, because we're in this really like split and divide within the world of where we're intolerant of other people. But if you stay in your lane, really focused on what it is that you came here to do, your highest truth, you will ultimately be successful. If you do it by giving a goal, you have to bring this intense analysis and this intense focus of Ketu to bring it, linking it with a desire, this channel of energy, right? Through this Naga energy, through this channel of energy, it brings your head through the desire of you into success. This is guaranteed. This transit of Rahu and Ketu into the sign of Taurus and Scorpio is actually really beneficial for us. It's really great for us. It's the new axis of our eclipses, right? The one that's going to start leading it off is in November, but the December one is a bit of a challenge, right? So this is the last of our challenge push as we end 2020. But the one in June that comes is really beautiful. It's really lucky. By springtime and then through summertime, we'll start to see a real shift in how our world looks. And we're going to look back on this time and think how we got through it. So it's important for you to use your discrimination and not to be given a false promise, to really stay with the integrity of what is right for you without worrying what other people think. This is very, very important. You have to connect with the higher truth of you. And you need to make sure that it's not in fantasy, that it's not in an illusion of somebody else's idea of what it is that you want to achieve. Now, Rahu and Ketu, as they're sitting in the signs that are ruled by Venus and Mars, these are going to be very important planets for us to watch through the transits of 2021, since they're the hosts of these two smoky planets, right? These are going to be key for us to watch where they retrograde, where they're moving into, and how they're afflicted, because these are going to be the depositors of Rahu and Ketu through 2021. Additionally, what's important for you to look at is that when you're checking through the classroom of life that they're going to ignite, because that's simply what the houses are. The houses are just the classrooms of life, and we're all going to get dragged into it. Nobody is going to be free from the changes that are going to come. Nobody's going to be free from affliction right now. Not one person on this planet, right? So when you're aware of the classroom that you're being pulled into, right, to see where Rahu and Ketu are pulling you into, then you can really start to create a plan for success, right? Because success is done by design, right? So we have to really work to design our life and construct it in a way using the energies and the forces of the planets that are revealing our tale of time on this planet. This is all that they're doing. They're not They're pushing energy onto us, afflicting us, making us feel challenged. They're only awakening the energy that exists within us, right? So this we're all destined to achieve together, right? 2020 was no mistake. Now, it's important when you look from your ascendant and your moon together with their transit and then blend their energies, because the ascendant is where the direction is going to take you, and the moon, from the moon sign, it's going to tell you about how you're going to experience, how you're going to perceive it, as well as a very big karmic release, right? Because Ketu going through the sign of Scorpio is really about a big karmic release that's coming. It's also about revealing this occult and spiritual powers that are within us and within the world, right? So it's really going to bring out a lot of this change and the shift of the age. So this is very transformational time with Ketu in the sign of Scorpio. We just don't want to get lost in the desire of Rahu to find the stability. We want to take this like digging through of Ketu and Mars ruled sign, pushing us through to really hit our spiritual goals, right? Because ultimately we want to unite with ourselves again. This is really it. Let's take a look sign by sign to see what's occurring for each and every one of us. For Aries, this is occurring in your 2nd and 8th house axis. And here Rahu is looking to your 6th house and your 10th house. So there's a couple of key points he's going to work on for you. He's going to put a great emphasis with you on your career and how you're working to achieve your goals. It's also going to put an emphasis on decluttering, of getting rid of things that don't work, particularly relationships. And you can have fear with this, but it's actually going to ultimately serve you. With Rahu sitting in your 2nd house, you don't want to make changes with your investments right now. Just leave things as they are. It will also want you to work on your appearance, to make a change in your appearance in some way. Ketu is going to really help you discover some hidden skills. It's going to actually make you work to improve your skills. And these are all going to bring in a focus with your career, the place from your north of where the world is seeing you. Because a career house for us, our career house is really our northern house. It's how the world sees us, right? So it's really going to shift how you're appearing, how you're presenting yourself, what you're communicating, what you're taking in, really clearing out your environment. But your focus with all of that effort is going to be just to drive you into success with your career. It's actually really great for you. Taurus, this is occurring for you in your 1st and 7th house axis, right? And for you, this is actually quite revolutionary, because with Rahu going over the 1st house, he wants to really shake things up, really shake up who you are, shake up what you're connected with. It's going to bring in a lot of bright opportunities for you. But what's key is that you have to be able to grab them. You have to be able to go with the flow and seize the opportunity. You need to make sure that your relationships are very anchored and very strong, because in this time of real transformation with Rahu going over the ascendant is where you can feel a little destabilized, you're not so sure, but it's actually bringing in a lot of opportunity for you. It also signals a time where your partnerships actually can engage and become more deeper. If you are unattached, it can bring in a foreign person, particularly an older person to you, that helps you to feel connected to something while you're really blossoming in this time with Rahu going into your 1st house. It's a very exciting transit for you, Taurus. So believe in yourself. Take risks with yourself. Allow yourself to really blossom and really feel anchored in your relationships, that they hold you and allow you to really grow. So Gemini, this is occurring in your 6th and your 12th house aspect. And Rahu from the 12th house is looking at your 4th and your 8th houses. These are not great places. Sorry, Gemini. You have to start to work on your anger. So a lot of anger is going to come up during its transit. You can feel extremely agitated through April. After April, it gets a little bit better for you. But right now, you're feeling really uncertain, unclear where you should go, what you should do. Do not make any major decisions. If you feel unclear, uncertain, just don't make any decisions yet. Wait until after April. You're agitated, you're emotional right now, feeling threatened, feeling engaged. Like this is the feeling you have right now. But it's a part of this release because you had Rahu in your ascendant for quite a long time. And so here he's just kind of like clearing out any of the debris that's remaining. So in your 12th house, he's just finalizing it. And then from April, he starts to bring in a lot of rewards. So be patient, right? Be patient. It's just this last push of the clearing out of him as he moves into your 12th house. And when he starts to get a little bit further and further away and he becomes stronger and the planets around and your ruling planet becomes stronger, it will be a better time. So just take care of your energy, of your anger management right now, and know that you have a lot of gifts that are coming out. So just take your energy of anger, because you can transform energy into a direction, right? And not just a destruction. You can channel it into ways that actually work on things behind the scenes. This was the best use of your energy right now through April. After April, it becomes much better, bringing in foreign clients, unusual clients to you, travels for you, ability to connect with unusual people that actually bring you benefit, that actually help to uplift your spirit, that you feel very engaged with. So just wait until then and keep yourself connected with your breath. So Cancer, this is occurring in your 11th and your 5th house. It's actually a really favorable transit for you, Cancer, right? So you've had this harsh aspect of Saturn on your 1st house since Saturn moved into the sign of Capricorn. So you've had a lot of pressure this year. But here with Rahu moving into your 11th house and Ketu into your 5th, it's really about this gains, this ability to receive actual recognition, to make connections and to receive from it, where you really feel rewarded because you've had a really hard last 18-month Cancer, like really a hard time. You need to make sure that you don't overthink things, right? So you already a worrying sign. Don't overthink things. Just take it and just go for it. Don't overthink about it and don't look to the left and don't look to the right of what other people are doing. Just go for it. This is really important for you. If you want to change your course of study or if you want to change your job, wait. Don't do it before April. Wait. Make sure that your mind is very clear before you change your subject, before you change your course of study, or you change your job. It's not the time to do this before April. After April, you have a little bit more clarity in doing so. Also, Rahu is going to awaken your house of your siblings and your partner, so it can transform your relationships currently during its transit, right? So you may have had trouble within your relationships where Rahu and Ketu will really start to help you reform this to really heal it in many, many ways. Leo, this is occurring in your 10th house and your 4th house. So it's really bringing in this sense of what your career is with your inner world. So the 4th house is not just our home, but it's also our inner world, how we're perceiving things, how we experience things in our private life. So Ketu here is going to bring in this need for wanting to change and to want to make a move. It doesn't necessarily mean a move with the house, but just a move with how you are internalizing things, how you're processing things. With Rahu in your 10th house, it brings a lot of desire to really ignite your career zone. A lot of opportunities are coming for you in your career zone. And with it aspecting your 2nd house, it promises you a lot of rewards, so get ready to catch them. A lot of things for you right now, Leo, are really not held back from you. So where you felt pressure, you've just got things coming in. You're just growing. So it's actually a great transit for you. Like I said in the video in the beginning, it's really the first part that's the most difficult, right through April for all of us, because the world is going to be under pressure. And then we can start experiencing our own individual rewards, our own individual experience. But it's great for you this year. Virgo, this is occurring in your 9th and 3rd house axis. And so here also Rahu is going to be aspecting your 1st house, right? So here you actually can be more introverted, like really examining your inner being. It's also going to highlight where you're putting your emphasis on what your deeper contracts are, what you're aligning with, what is important to you, how you're investing your time. If you need to actually add to your skill set for your career, because you're kind of examining yourself, okay, where am I? What is it that I have achieved? What is it that the next thing that I need need to do, because you're a very calculating sign with where your movement is. So here with your introspection, it's this discovery of where your next move is, but it's actually good for you to take you into a more successful place. Libra, for you, you have the hardest time through February of 2021, and actually it gets much better for you after April. First of all, you have Saturn who's aspecting your sign, and then you have Mars aspecting your sign, and Mars is going to do this dance between Pisces and Aries through February of 2021, and it's really then when Jupiter moves into Aquarius, it becomes a better time for you where you're feeling more fulfilled. With Ketu in your second, you're feeling absent. You're feeling like you don't have enough things coming in to give you. Nothing that comes in you feel satisfied with. And with Rahu in the 8th house, it awakens a lot of fear of how things will unfold, how things will be taken care of, how you're going to do stuff. It also can signal a time where there's an inheritance, so something can happen within your family, because it also indicates challenges with siblings or communications at heart to heart that need to happen with siblings. So there can be something that's not so great with your family life, but just wait until the springtime for things to get better. But it's really after, I have to say, it's really from August time that it actually really starts to really shine for you. So the best that you can do right now is not to be too reactive, to really connect with yourself, to keep your body moving, and just roll with the punches and keep connecting with your breath right now, because there's no way to avoid this challenge. What it's really teaching you is to find balance and stability in yourself, and to really believe in yourself no matter what obstacle you are being faced with. Scorpio, this is happening in your 1st and 7th house. So Ketu in your 1st house, Rahu in your 7th house. And this is actually really great for your career. It's bringing in a lot of opportunity for your career, a lot of advantages for your career. You'll be sought after for your skills. So you'll be in demand during Rahu and Ketu's transit into your 1st and 7th house. With Ketu in your 1st house, you can start to feel like you're being overanalyzed, over-scrutinized. You may want to separate yourself. You may want to be more alone, but this is not the time to do it. You actually need to be more outward. You need to connect with people. You need to connect with new people, because these bring you a lot of growth in your career zone. Also, your relationship may change. So your relationship with your partner, or it can bring in a new relationship for you, is going to change. So it will be something that you weren't expecting. So it's going to be something that is kind of seeking a sensual pleasure. It can't even be an affair, Scorpio. So it can bring in some sensual pleasures that somehow you just can't resist. This is a big thing with Rahu transiting into your 7th house. With Rahu aspecting your 11th and your 3rd house, it indicates, again, very good contracts with business people and foreigners. So this is really about your career time, Scorpio. It's a good transit for you. So Sagittarius, this is occurring in your 6th house and your 12th house. So you're finally having Ketu move off your 1st house, going into your 12th house, which is a good indication for travel. And then with Rahu sitting in your 6th house. So Rahu in the 6th house actually brings in a lot of work. It brings in a lot of debt and a lot of service. So this year, you're going to be really focused on service, about paying off a debt, It can be even a debt that you're creating, right? So right now, Sagittarius, even with Jupiter on your ascendant, you're feeling a lot of pressure, a lot of weight on what it is that you've agreed to. So it can be through this manifesting of what you've kind of put yourself into, if it's a new project or a new career path or a new job, you're feeling the weight of it. And with Ketu now off of you, you're just working towards paying off this debt, about creating through using the energy of Rahu into your 6th house. Now Rahu in your 6th house is aspecting your 10th house, so it can bring in new clients. It can bring in a lot of benefit with new clients. It can be also a shift in your career. Maybe you're adding something to your career, like where you're adding on a new skill set that you start to bring out into the world. So this is actually a very good transit for you. Capricorn, this is your 5th and 11th house. So here, an Rahu's looking at your ninth house. So actually for you, Capricorn, it actually could be a really big love time, like you could meet somebody, right? So the ninth and fifth house with Rahu there can also bring it somebody who's unusual. So it really can be a love time for you. With Rahu in your fifth house, it's really about connecting with creative things, about finding new ways to do things. So it's not just about creativity with a paintbrush and doing things like this. It's actually about this creative way of bringing in ideas and finding new ways to do things. It's also about your dharmic path. So it can bring you into following a new path, finding a new way that helps to enrich you spiritually. It can help you connect with a new set of teachings. It also can bring in this sense of like satisfaction of connecting with something of high teachings, right? So I think this is very beautiful for you. It also, with Ketu in your 11th house, the 11th house being our social engagement, you can start to feel a little bit isolated, a little bit alone, and this will continue right through the springtime. You will feel a little bit restricted and alone, but this just gives you more opportunity to connect with some part of your dharmic pursuit and your creative pursuit that actually brings your heart satisfaction. Aquarius. So Aquarius, this is happening in your 4th and 10th house. So Rahu's moving into your 4th house and he is looking to your 8th house and he's looking to your 12th house. This is not so great for you, Aquarius, right? And with Ketu sitting in your 11th house, it's really where you feel restless, where you feel really frustrated. You feel really like restricted, like maybe you're feeling like it's time for a shift, it's time for something new, I feel stuck. This is really for the energy for you with Rahu sitting in your 4th house. I think for you, it's also this inner world revolution, like where you start to really honestly talk with yourself again, because 4th house is our inner world. It's not just our home, but it's also how we explore and experience ourselves privately. So you can start to really revolutionize how you're communicating with yourself and how this inner dialogue works. It also can signal a period of where you start working more from home and you have earnings coming from home, right? So it can be this place of perhaps you're having to move your work to your home environment rather than being in the public, but it's really going to bring you some satisfaction and material gain. Don't give up. Don't feel restless. Try and find new ways to find your satisfaction. And Ketu in your 10th house is really this time of where you're going to need to be in service. It's really this time of where you're actually having to do work and you're feeling unsatisfied and unseen with it. But it's really about this period of where you have to just do your final state of service, because when it actually then moves, right, when Rahu comes into your 3rd house in 2022, you're going to explode with success. So this is like your last push of service, of you getting clear with your self-satisfaction, your self-dialogue, where it is that you're really living from, right? 4th house is not just home. It can be home, but it's really where you're living from, right? So it's just using this time to work on your inner world communication, finding your satisfaction where you are, not feeling restricted no matter where you are, because we have to bloom wherever we're planted, doing your service and just preparing for what comes to you in 2022. Pisces, this is occurring in your 3rd and your 11th house. This is the most auspicious transit for you. With you, it's occurring in a place where you can dream and actually manifest whatever it is that you want to have happen. It's the best placement for Rahu and Ketu. The only challenge may be is that with Ketu in your 9th house, you may feel restricted in that you can't travel as much, but you can focus your efforts on your local community to help bring in the auspiciousness of Rahu in the 3rd house. Because Rahu in the 3rd house brings a lot of courage. It brings a lot of power in the creation. It brings a lot of power into the manifestation. And all you have to do is ask for it. Thank you for joining me in my video today. Please like and subscribe. I wish you the most beautiful transit of Rahu and Ketu. May you find courage anchored in the spirit of you. May you be blessed with opportunity. May you be blessed with clarity. May you be blessed with friendship and love. May you be blessed with wisdom and recognized that you are loved and that you are all that you need. Satanam.